So, for today, I thought I would do my top 10 Doctor Who cliffhangers. Now, I did put a few rules in place for this particular list. Now, the ones that I'm going to be listing today, I'm only listing NuWho Doctor Who cliffhangers, mainly because the classic series, pretty much every other episode was a cliffhanger, leading into more parts of it. So for the time being, I'm just doing the kind of NuWho era. I might do a classic Doctor Who cliffhangers one day, but not today. Another small limitation I placed on myself is that I didn't allow kind of finale cliffhangers. Only because if it's part one of the two-part finale, then that's fine. But I'm not talking about ones that they actually ended the series on. Stuff like Titanic in the TARDIS, Bride in the TARDIS, Santa in the TARDIS. You get the idea. So here is my admittedly limited top 10 Doctor Who cliffhangers from 2005 until 2024. Rounding out the bottom of my list is Series 3, Episode 12's The Sound of Drums. Now, Utopia was, I think it ended up being my number 12, but eventually got pushed off the list. But I didn't know who the Master was back in 2007 when he first entered the screen. I mean, I just knew the Master was bad news because, well, one, he seemed to kind of regenerate inside the TARDIS, then he stole the Doctor's TARDIS, leaving the Doctor, Martha, and Captain Jack stranded at the end of the universe with Future Kind rolling in. It's not hard to work out that this guy's bad news. However, The Sound of Drums is what made it onto my list, because that's one that kind of, I think, sticks in my memory. Just the Master conquering Earth, murdering the US president, aging the Doctor up kind of thousands of years with this laser screwdriver, and then kind of sending the Toclafane to wipe out 1/3 of Earth's population. That, and then just him kind of at the end kind of gloating about it. And so the Earth fell. I looked upon my new empire, and I thought it good. Just that one moment, you could tell this is a case where you don't know how the Doctor's going to get out of it, and that's really what makes a great cliffhanger. So for me, The Sound of Drums rounds out the bottom of my list at number 10. My number 9 comes from the most recent series, and that would be Series 14, or Season 1, Episode 7, The Legend of Ruby Sunday, aka The Return of Sutekh. Now, as I said in my review of The Legend of Ruby Sunday, I did find out ahead of time what the ultimate cliffhanger of this was going to be, given that it was released on kind of Disney Plus a day before it was released on the BBC here in England. So I did know Sutekh was coming, but still, the way they did it and the way they reveal it, I felt it was very well done. And when Sutekh was ultimately revealed, I'll admit, my heart was dropping. I was utterly horrified about what was going on. So much so that in the days afterwards, I actually went back and rewatched Pyramids of Mars just to go get myself more in the Sutekh mindset. But as I said, I found out about it before, but if a cliffhanger is really well done, it can still surprise me. And The Legend of Ruby Sunday, that for me, that was a great cliffhanger. And while I think for most of the cliffhangers on this list, with I think the exception of Christopher Eccleston, I don't believe he got one on here. Every one of the Doctors from David Tennant through to Matt Smith, I believe, has at least one on here. So that was my choice for the 15th Doctor. That was the cliffhanger that could really set me on edge. One spot up at number 8, we go back to the 10th Doctor, and this time it's the ending of The Stolen Earth, aka Series 4, Episode 12 from 2008. Because this is a case of everything is going wrong, everyone is pretty much on edge, what's going to happen next, and then the kind of final moments of the episode go really kick into place. I mean, you've got Yanto and Gwen trying to fend off Torchwood HQ from a Dalek, which is managing to break in. Sarah Jane has just been cornered by 2 Daleks in her Nissan Vigaro. And then you got the Doctor reuniting with Rose, running together, and then a Dalek comes along and shoots the Doctor. Jack, Donna, and Rose manage to get the Doctor inside the TARDIS, but then he seemingly starts to regenerate, and you're just wondering, how are they going to get out of this one? What's going to happen next? And then just regeneration happens, and they're like, David Tennant, I don't think we knew at this point whether David Tennant was going to be sticking around or not, so just to see him go into regeneration, we were shocked. Anyway, that's what brings me to number 8, and if that's my number 8, then you can tell that this list is going to be pretty big. Up one spot to number 7, I've got Series 5, Episode 4 from 2010, The Time of Angels. I mean, the Weeping Angels were already dangerous enough. I'll admit in the years since, they've gone up and down. I personally think they would have been better if they'd been a one-use. I feel they have been a little bit overused over time, but they weren't determined to make it work, and I could say for their first episode since Blink in 2007, The Time of Angels I think does really well, and especially with the ending cliffhanger. The angels surrounding the Doctor, River, Amy and the clerics. How are they going to get out of this? And then Matt Smith's speech right at the end of the episode, I think, seals it and kind of makes it one of the all-time great Doctor Who moments. As the angels taunt him through the walkie-talkie, he answers them, there's one thing you never put in a trap if you're smart, if you value your continued existence. If you've made plans about seeing tomorrow, there's one thing you never ever put in a trap. What would that be, sir? Me. Which you could tell this moment is badass. You don't know what's going to happen next, and that to me is what makes it a great cliffhanger to end the episode on. Up one space to number 6, my choice goes to Series 2, Episode 5, Rise of the Cybermen. I remember watching this, and I really didn't know how they were going to get out of this. Like, being surrounded by Cybermen, new Cybermen. You have 2 Mickeys, Jake, the Doctor, Rose, even Pete Tyler, just seemingly surrounded with no way out. Even the Doctor kind of offering for them to be processed, and the Cybermen saying to you, you're not compatible. Like, you will not be turned into Cybermen. And the Doctor kind of pleading with them just to go along with it, but then announcing they will be deleted. And as I said, what makes this a great cliffhanger for me is that you genuinely can't see any way out of this. I mean, obviously there was a way out of it, as they showed with the Age of Steel, but Rise of the Cybermen for me ended on a pretty great cliffhanger. My number 5 spot goes to Series 12, Episode 1 from 2020. This is my 13th Doctor pick, Spyfall Part 1. I'll be honest, I didn't see this reveal coming. Like, unlike The Legend of Ruby Sunday, where I found out ahead of time, I didn't know this was happening. So when it finally did happen, when it was revealed, I was surprised, a little confused at first, but then, as I said, as it slowly kind of sunk in, I was like, oh no. Because, okay, for those who maybe don't know, we'll just need a quick recap. Here's how Spyfall Part 1 ends. The 13th Doctor, Yaz, Graham, Ryan, and their friend O are chasing down a kind of corrupt billionaire played by Lenny Henry. They manage to chase him down to an airport and get on board the plane that he's carrying. To which their friend O, played by Sacha Dhawan, then says that he's never been good at sprinting. So Doctor asks him, no, I read your file, you were a champion sprinter. Caught me. Well done. And then it's ultimately revealed that, Doctor, I did say, look for the Spy Master. Or should I say Spy Master? To which, the Master coming back, I'll admit, I think like another entry that's on this list, I think this is a pretty good cliffhanger. It's not quite as good as my number 4, but I'll explain why in a minute. But just have the Master back in a new form and see he's just as crazy as ever. That, to me, really worked. And so that's why it's Spyfall Part 1 for me. I'll admit Spyfall Part 2 kind of fumbles it a little bit. Also, how they managed to fly a partially damaged plane, I'd kind of question that. But as I said, Spyfall Part 1 did a lot of things right for me, and that cliffhanger, that was one of them. As I said, it's not quite as good as what I thought was my 4th best cliffhanger. And that is Series 8, Episode 11, Dark Water. Because for me, this is the kind of ultimate reveal of this character. Throughout the series, we've been seeing this mysterious woman, Missy, played by Michelle Gomez, seemingly overlooking a form of afterlife that a lot of dead characters throughout the series suddenly pop up in. And then we get to the end, to Dark Water, the penultimate episode of the series, and you can see Cybermen marching out of St. Paul's, and the dead bodies have been transformed into Cybermen. And then just the Doctor gets to talk to Missy, and it's like, you know, the key strategic weakness of the human race. The dead outnumber the living. Who are you? Oh, you know who I am. I'm Missy. Who's Missy? Ah, please, try to keep up. Short for mistress. Well, couldn't really keep calling myself the master, now could I? And I remember watching this episode when it came out in 2014, and I remember my jaw dropping. Now, I remember her saying those words, and my mind kind of discomputed from me, like, what? And then as it slowly sank in, I was just like, well, we're boned. Because, yeah, just knowing that there's a new form of the Master running around, and this version is now a woman with a devious glint in her eye, you know this is going to be good. Now, as some people have said, the kind of ending Death in Heaven kind of mucked up a little bit, but I still think Dark Water, that for me was a truly great cliffhanger, as well as the nod to the invasion, seeing the Cybermen marching down the steps of St. Paul's Cathedral. But yeah, Dark Water for me was my number 4. At number 3, we come to another 12th Doctor story, Series 10, Episode 11, World Enough and Time. Because really for me this was a cliffhanger that shouldn't have worked, because I knew all the pieces that were coming. Like, we already knew from the marketing that John Sims' Master was going to be coming back. So we knew that Michelle Gomez was coming back as Missy as well, and we also knew from the marketing that Mondasian Cybermen were coming back. And seeing what happens to Bill throughout the episode, it was pretty obvious that, yeah, she was going to become a Cyberman, but still, just that one moment at the end when Bill is revealed to be a Mondasian Cyberman, and then you got 2 versions of the Master standing by. I remember the first time that episode actually aired, and my blood ran cold. Just everything kind of slotting together. Bill as a Cyberman, and then just those final words of, I waited for you, and just seeing the tear behind her mask. That for me is what makes this the 3rd best Doctor Who cliffhanger, at least in the modern era. My number 2 might be one that people are surprised by, but it's Series 3, Episode 8, Human Nature. Now, I know that for a lot of people they say that Blink was the scariest episode of Series 3, and Human Nature and the Family of Blood was the best story of Series 3. For me, it's the other way around. For me, Blink was the best episode of Series 3, and Human Nature and the Family of Blood for me was the scariest. I mean, the cast that they chose for the Family of Blood actually worked really, really well. And as I said, when they cornered the Doctor, Martha, and Nurse Joan at the party, I legitimately couldn't see any way out for the Doctor. So that for me is what makes this a great cliffhanger. Just the one moment where they've got him cornered, are threatening to kill either Martha or Joan, and to me, just I couldn't see any way out of this. The Doctor doesn't know who he is. His companions, his friends are under threat. I didn't see any way out, and for me, that makes it my number 2. But it's not quite my number 1 best cliffhanger of Doctor Who. My number 1 goes to Series 2, Episode 12, Army of Ghosts, because I think by now that's going to go down as one of the greatest kind of moments of Doctor Who in terms of cliffhangers, of at least the NuWho, because those who don't remember, Army of Ghosts sees that you've got Cybermen who've imprinted themselves onto our world posing as ghosts. They finally make their way through, and Cybermen are all over planet Earth, and as the Doctor says to them, it's not an invasion, it's too late for that, it's a victory. Cybermen all across planet Earth. But then they discover that the sphere is opening, as Rose, Mickey, and one of the Torchwood scientists find out. But then the Doctor again asks the Cybermen, like, I don't understand, the Cybermen don't have the technology to build a void ship, that's way beyond you. How do you create that sphere? To which they admit the sphere isn't theirs. It broke down the barrier between worlds, they only followed. They don't know where it's from either. The ship opens, and while Mickey thought it might be like Cyber Leader, Cyber King, Emperor of the Cybermen, it's not. As they see 4 all too familiar shapes rising out of the sphere. That's not Cybermen, it's 4 Daleks. And like I said with Bender earlier, just that one moment of, well, we're boned. Because, yeah, you got Cybermen all across the Earth, 4 Daleks, just that one moment, it works. And that for me is why Army of Ghosts is the best Doctor Who cliffhanger so far. But what are your favourite Doctor Who cliffhangers from NuWho? Let me know down below in the comments. Anyway, until next time, see ya.